There are foods you may be eating almost every day that can quietly keep your body in a state of low-grade inflammation. And the strange part is, you would probably never feel it happening because this is not the kind of inflammation that gives you pain or makes you feel sick overnight. This is the slow kind that can sit quietly in the background for years, and over time, chronic inflammation has been linked to things like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, and other health problems that become more common as we get older. But before you start throwing everything out of your kitchen, I want to make something very clear. This is not about eating one cookie, one hot dog, or one plate of French fries and suddenly damaging your body. Your body is incredibly resilient. What matters much more is the pattern. The foods that quietly become part of your breakfast, your snacks, your lunch, and your dinner until one day, you realize you've been eating them almost every day for years. And some of the foods on this list may surprise you because they do not all look unhealthy. In fact, a few of them are often marketed as being convenient, healthy, or even good for you. So in this video, I want to walk you through 6 foods that may be quietly feeding inflammation and potentially accelerating the way your body ages. But more importantly, I want to show you what to reach for instead. And I want to start with something that many people eat regularly without giving it a second thought. Food number 1 is processed meat. We're talking about things like bacon, sausage, hot dogs, salami, pepperoni, and many types of deli meat. Now, the concern here is not simply that these foods contain fat. The bigger question is what happens when meat is heavily processed, preserved, and in many cases cooked at very high temperatures. And there is another part of this story that often gets overlooked. Processed meat rarely shows up by itself. Think about the typical breakfast sandwich. You might have processed sausage, refined bread, cheese, and a sugary sauce with almost no fiber anywhere in the meal. Or think about a hot dog at a ball game. Again, the processed meat is usually surrounded by refined carbohydrates and very little of the plant foods that support your gut. So sometimes the problem is not just one ingredient, it is the entire pattern that comes along with it. Now, I am not saying you need to panic if you enjoy bacon on a Sunday morning. Remember, we're talking about what becomes routine. If processed meat is showing up almost every day, that is when I would start looking for alternatives. Fresh poultry, fish, eggs, beans, and lentils can all be great everyday options. And if you enjoy red meat, keeping it minimally processed and pairing it with plenty of fiber can completely change the overall picture. But processed meat is not the only thing that can quietly create problems over time. The next one is something millions of people consume every day, and many people do not even think of it as food. Food number 2 is sugary drinks. And I'm not just talking about soda. We're talking about sweetened iced teas, energy drinks, bottled coffees, sports drinks, and even some fruit drinks that are covered in pictures of fresh oranges and berries and make you feel like you're making a healthy choice. And this is where things get interesting. The problem is not simply sugar, it is also the way that sugar arrives in your body. Think of the fiber in whole fruit as a built-in speed limit. When you eat an orange, the sugar arrives along with water and fiber. You have to chew it. It takes time to eat. Your body gets the sweetness, but it also gets the fiber that helps slow things down. But when you turn several oranges into a glass of juice, you can consume the sugar from all of them in just a few seconds while removing much of that built-in speed limit. And over time, regularly consuming large amounts of added sugar can contribute to metabolic problems and inflammation. There is also another reason this matters when we talk about aging. Excess sugar can contribute to a process called glycation, where sugar reacts with proteins in the body and forms compounds that can affect tissues such as blood vessels and collagen. So if you want something sweet, eating the whole fruit is usually a much better option. You get the sweetness, but you also get the fiber that came with it. And when it comes to drinks, Water, sparkling water, or unsweetened tea can be much easier everyday habits than constantly reaching for something loaded with sugar. But here's the part that many people miss. You do not need to drink sugar for refined carbohydrates to create a similar problem, because food number 3 is something that can look completely harmless sitting on your kitchen counter, and that is refined carbohydrates. We're talking about things like white bread, pastries, many breakfast cereals, crackers, and baked snacks made with refined flour. Now, before someone says, "Wait, are you telling me I can never eat bread again?" No. That is not what this is about. The problem is what often gets removed during processing. Whole grains naturally contain fiber, and fiber acts a little like a built-in brake. It helps slow digestion and feeds beneficial bacteria in your gut. But when grains are heavily refined, much of that fiber can disappear. And once again, it becomes very easy to consume a large amount without feeling particularly full. Think about how easy it is to eat several slices of white toast or a handful of crackers, compared with eating the same amount of calories from beans or vegetables. One of these foods naturally makes you slow down. The other can disappear while you're watching television, and when a diet is consistently high in refined carbohydrates and low in fiber, it can contribute to metabolic dysfunction, which is closely connected with chronic inflammation. So the goal is not to fear carbohydrates. Your body absolutely uses carbohydrates. The better question is, what is coming along with those carbohydrates? Are you getting fiber, vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients? Or are you mostly getting rapidly digested starch? Beans, oats, minimally processed whole grains, vegetables, and higher fiber breads can all be better everyday choices. But now we get to the category where I think things become much harder to spot, because food number 4 can look incredibly healthy from the front of the package, and that is heavily processed foods with long lists of additives. Now, I want to be careful here because not every ingredient you cannot pronounce is automatically dangerous. I do not think food should become a chemistry exam where you panic every time you see a long word, but there is a pattern worth paying attention to. Many ultra-processed foods are specifically designed to be incredibly convenient, highly palatable, and very easy to overeat. And they can contain combinations of refined starches, added sugars, industrial fats, flavorings, and additives that are rarely found together in real food. And some additives, particularly certain emulsifiers, are currently being studied for their potential effects on the gut microbiome and the protective mucus barrier inside the intestines. Now, the research here is still developing, and I do not want to oversell it. Eating one packaged protein bar is not going to destroy your gut, but this is the bigger issue. If a large part of your diet comes from foods that are heavily processed, those foods can slowly crowd out the foods that we already know support a healthier gut. Vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, minimally processed proteins, and some of the most heavily marketed products can make this surprisingly easy to miss. The front of the package might say high protein, plant-based, low calorie, or no added sugar. But sometimes the healthiest looking food on the shelf is still a heavily engineered product. So instead of obsessing over every single ingredient, I like a simpler question. Could most of this meal have existed in a normal kitchen? If the answer is yes, you're probably moving in the right direction. And speaking of foods that are easy to eat without thinking much about what happens during the preparation, the next one is all about how the food is cooked. Food number 5 is deep fried food, especially food that has been cooked in oil that is repeatedly heated. And this is an important distinction. Cooking with oil at home is not the same thing as food being cooked in the same deep fryer over and over again throughout the day. When oil is exposed to very high temperatures repeatedly, it can break down and form compounds that your body does not exactly appreciate. But once again, the bigger problem is usually the entire package. Deep-fried foods often come with refined carbohydrates, processed meat, sugary sauces, and very little fiber. Think about a typical fast food meal. You might have fried chicken, fries, a sweet drink, and a sauce that contains added sugar. So the inflammation is not necessarily coming from one villain sitting in the middle of the plate. It is more like several small problems arriving at the same time, and you do not have to give up every French fry for the rest of your life. But if fried food is becoming a regular part of your week, switching some of those meals to roasted, baked, grilled, or lightly sautéed foods can be one of the easiest changes you can make. And now we get to the final one. And technically, it isn't a food, but I saved it for last because it may be one of the most misunderstood things on this entire list. Food number 6 is excessive alcohol. For years, many people believe that a glass of wine every day might actually be good for their heart. And honestly, it sounds like a great health recommendation. Drink wine, live longer. Unfortunately, as researchers started looking more carefully at alcohol and health, that story became much more complicated. Alcohol can affect several systems in the body, including something we've been talking about throughout this video, your gut barrier. Think of that barrier as a security system between the contents of your gut and the rest of your body. When that protective barrier becomes more permeable, substances from inside the gut can move more easily into the bloodstream, where they can trigger an immune response. And when that happens repeatedly, it can contribute to the same background inflammation that we have been talking about this entire time. Now, I am not telling you that one glass of wine at a wedding is going to suddenly age you overnight. Again, health is not that fragile, but I do think it is important to let go of the idea that drinking alcohol every day is somehow a health habit. And when you step back and look at all 6 of these, processed meat, sugary drinks, refined carbohydrates, heavily processed packaged foods, deep-fried foods, and excessive alcohol, you start to see a pattern. Most of them are easy to consume, many of them are low in fiber, and almost all of them can slowly replace the foods that naturally support your gut, your metabolism, and a healthier inflammatory response. So fighting inflammation is not really about creating a long list of foods you are never allowed to eat. It is about changing what shows up most often, because your body does not judge you based on one meal. It responds to the pattern you repeat. So instead of obsessing over everything you need to remove, start adding more foods that naturally work in your favor. More beans and lentils, a wider variety of vegetables, whole fruits instead of constantly drinking your fruit, nuts, and minimally processed proteins. And if you enjoy seafood, fatty fish can be a great addition to your weekly routine. You do not need a perfect diet. You just need to make sure that the foods feeding your body most often are actually helping your body rather than quietly working against it. And over time, those small changes can help reduce the things that keep inflammation smoldering in the background and give your body a better chance to age the way it was designed to. I hope this was helpful. Stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.